Hi, everybody. So this is your professor. What we're doing right now is I'm going to give you an overview of what CYOT is, your Create Your Own Theory paper. I think doing a nice overview about what this is going to help you conceptualize what your literature review is going to be about, which is due the 2nd. Maybe this nice overview of what CYOT paper is about can help you understand a little bit more about the purpose behind the literature review I'm asking you to do, and kind of see what the whole process is. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so CYOT is Create Your Own Theory, and what I'm asking you to do is to kind of do a remix of something that exists and making it better by you revising it into something that is helpful for you. Okay, so at the heart of CYOT is this question that should be in your final paper. What is the process for, right here is the other blank, okay? So what is the developmental process for your chosen student population? Okay, this is a big question that I'm asking you and that you will be answering in the CYOT, right? So developmental process, these are the things that we're covering in the class. So it would be cognitive, right? It could be self-authoring process, right? It could be identity development. Let's see, psychosocial, a la Chickering, right? And moral, etc., etc., etc. There's so many different processes, and some we didn't even cover in class that you could probably see in the student development textbook. That one is available as an ebook, I believe. Some of you might have the hard copy. So what is a process? Pick one, right, for your chosen population. So that could be, let me give you some examples from what students have done before. How about veterans? How about first-gen students? How about Black women? How about bisexual students? Oops, there you go. Students on the spectrum. On the spectrum. Fraternity men or women. Latino gay men. Okay, so big question. This is something that this is up to you. This is where your creativity comes in and your curiosity. So this is the thing that you want to address in your final paper for CYOT is what is the pick your own process, right? For pick your own population. Okay, so that's the ultimate goal, and you'll be writing a whole paper on that. So let's say you're really excited about the self-authoring process for, let's just pick this one, for veterans, right? So then your goal is to, for your first part of your paper, for the one that's due on the 2nd, is to look at the veterans piece and your literature review, right, is going to cover everything about veterans in regards to any developmental concerns or processes, right? So your literature review is going to say these are the things that are important to think about as far as the developmental needs, concerns, processes for veterans, right? One thing I can think of off the top of my head is, and I've had people write about veterans too. Actually, I think I had one paper talk about female women veterans, and one of the things that they found is that many of them had experienced sexual violence. That is definitely among the concern, the developmental process for sure. And if you were to put all of that into your developmental process, whichever one that you pick, I'm asking you to do this first because looking into, for example, the literature about veterans, you will find these developmental processes which can lead you to thinking, okay, these developmental processes concerns, they seem to match up best with one of these or two of these developmental processes, right? I always talk about this one. I always see it's about every year is fraternity men, right? So I always get a student that wants to talk about fraternity men, which is awesome. But the thing that's interesting every year is that even though the population is the same, I have students over the years picking different developmental processes. Does that make sense? So I had one year a student do fraternity men and they looked at self-authorship. Another one looked at fraternity men and they looked at, for example, moral development. Someone went really, creative and put maybe two of these together to inform their population. Okay? I'm not asking you to do, picking two or more, but that is a possibility if you're up for it. What I want you to do for this paper, like I said, is to do this part, right? Look at the chosen population. From your literature review, you're going to get the developmental concerns, right? Tasks, issues, things that you need to think about, which will then inform what needs to go into this slot. Make sense? I hope it does, because that is what your task is to do. This will be like part one of your paper. So what I'm doing here also is I'm chunking up your final paper so it's not just one big fat paper that you have to turn at the end of the semester. The first part will be your literature review, and then I'll be expecting to see all of this come together. Here's some thoughts. Some of these, like you're gonna choose your population, and in doing your paper, a couple of things might happen. One is that, let's see, you pick this one. Oh, my pen ran out. First gen students. You're going to probably find out that this is a huge area of research. So you might need to be more specific on this one. And that's good that you find this out while you're doing your literature review paper. So you might need to get more specific because I'm not asking for a 20-page literature review, right? I'm asking for like 4 or 5 pages. So you might need to be more specific if you're doing this one, right? There might also be some that you get way too specific and you're going to have a hard time finding the literature. For example, I had a student who wanted to look at firstborn. And what I mean by firstborn is first child in the family born, like the first sibling. And they wanted to look at firstborn and I think identity development or something like that. And she just could not find enough information about firstborn children. And so she had to scrap that idea and look at something else. So this is good. This is good for you to do this first, so that way you're not freaking out at the end of the semester trying to put this whole thing together and realizing that the population that you chose needs to be narrowed down or maybe a different one if you can't find enough literature. All right. So I hope this helps. I definitely recommend, if you're having a hard time, to go to your librarian. That's supposed to be a... I can't write. So librarian. And there is one that focuses specifically in education, and that you can go onto the university library page, and there is one librarian that specifically focuses on education that you can reach out to if you're having a really hard time getting literature for your particular population. Yeah, so these are just a list. There's so many more. I had people do papers on Jewish students, atheists, which we just, we just read a paper on. Gosh, just so many. And like I said, and this combined with this makes everything really interesting too. All right, I will see you on Tuesday, everybody. If you have any questions, send me an email and I will respond as soon as I can.